Okay, and we are live. How is everybody doing this fine Saturday morning? It's Larsen Halleck here. Welcome to Larsen Live. Yes, the title of the stream is Meat Flavored Seltzer. We'll get to that at the end, but first I gotta talk news. Actually, first I have to ramble on about Battletoads a bit. That is, of course, the opening song. That is, of course, the Battletoads and Double Dragon opening theme, but a live cover of it by a YouTuber known as MegaShredd with two D's. He is somebody that is not as prolific as I would like to say. I mean, he even has less subscribers than me. So I gotta check him out. MegaShredd, Megashredded. His music slaps, as the children say nowadays. But yeah, speaking of Battletoads, man, that new Battletoads game they made a couple years ago sucked. Let's make the game all quirky and Cal Arts thickline bullshit. Let's make the Dark Queen into some feminist hag wearing a lab coat because God forbid we have a sexy woman in a game. Yeah, no, the Dark Queen's hypersexualized and she dresses like a dominatrix. Where's her organs, Ray? Yeah, that's the whole point of the joke, feminists. This is a game about radical combat amphibians punching rats and bulls on spaceships while heavy metal music plays in the background. I mean, the fact that the villain of the game looks like Jessica Rabbit cosplaying as Elvira, that's literally part of the joke, you idiots. But, of course, the good shattering people hate the idea of drawing hyper-exaggerated cartoon broads because, well, they're a bunch of idiots. Incidentally, referring to Richard Williams' most famous creation, he's another example of why I feel even a pop artist has to have a thorough background in proper arts. Because, old Rich, he was a legitimately great painter in the proper academician style. He knows anatomy inside and out. But when given the chance, he will inevitably draw women with the hypersexualized, exaggerated figures. And there's nothing wrong with that, damn it. It's like The Who. They're a heavy metal band. They all have classical orchestra backgrounds, and that makes their music better. Similarly, a background in the fine arts can only make a cartoonist a better cartoonist. But I digress. And I honestly don't see why I couldn't have just had, the same, look of the Dark Queen and just, like, had her wear a lab coat over her, leather unitard and hooker boots. I've seen multiple fan artists do that exact thing. Because, damn it, who says a woman can't be smart and sexy? Who says a woman can't be a hypersexualized Amazonian bombshell and also be a chemist? I think it's pretty offensive if you don't think they can do that. Speaking of the hard sciences, guess who passed his general science exam? This guy. Yeah, no thanks to the Board of Ed throwing stupid bureaucratic crap at me. One exam down and one to go before the Board of Ed stops dicking me over and I can start getting paid what I deserve. I'll be making it rain once I start getting, that good money. But anyway, okay, C Punk Messiah says, it's a good thing us in the NSFW art community are keeping hypersexualized aesthetic alive. Yes, I agree. Yeah, I mean, just go on Know Your Meme, look up like Untumblrized, and you can see really good examples of the Dark Queen being drawn in the new Battletoad style, still looking, the way she's always looked. I mean, literally, it's just have a sexy broad, put her in a lab coat, square the circle. Rick says those people never heard of Hedy Lamarr. Yes. Yes, good old Hedwig Kessler, I think her real name was. Yeah, first actress to go full frontal nude in a movie. Also a very brilliant electrician. An electrical engineer, I should say. Anyway, let's start talking about Battletoads and, the broads. Let's talk some news. Okay, breaking news. The United States military is completely failing to meet its recruitment goals this year. This is the year we question the sustainability of an all-volunteer force, says, I believe, the Washington Post. More than half of people asked say that they're afraid of emotional trauma. Nearly half are afraid of being injured in their physical well-being. And for guys who are neither emotionally or physically weak, and I am very much a representative of the jock nerds, we are well aware that we'll be used as pawns in globalist horseshit, and I have no interest to do so. Yeah, I'm going to say it. This might be a tad controversial, but the military can't meet recruitment goals? Good. This is where I would insert Nelson Muntz laughing if I was a morning zoo radio guy, but I'm too sophisticated for that sort of silliness. I say as I ramble on about Battletoads. But seriously, like I said a few streams ago, fuck the military. You haven't fought a legitimately worthwhile war since Korea. This country was never intended to have a large, bloated standing army filled with useless sinecure hacks, and it didn't have one until after World War II. And when I say useless sinecure hacks, there's a reason why like so many single moms join the military in like REMF kind of logistical positions because it's like it's been discussed how people will say well technically like social entitlements pay are more of the tax burden than the military. Well, I mean let's be honest, the military is basically welfare in a lot of cases for the unemployable. And of course, when I say fuck the military, I mean as an institution. Obviously, the veterans we have desperately need medical and psychological treatment, and they ought to get it. But the best way to help the veterans is to, I don't know, not make new veterans, i.e., don't start bullshit wars. We don't need to pick some random country to kick the shit out of every now and then. We really don't need to. And of course, by veterans, I mean the guys who actually faced life threatening situations, whether they be combat arms, CB, construction battalions, combat engineers, frontline logistics and communications, guys who actually risk their lives. I don't mean guys who stay at the base and do crap that a civilian could do at work. And yes, I have seen more than a few secretaries and laundrymen trying to cop free drinks at a bar. Okay, we got some comments here. C Punk Messiah says, my friends who are veterans told me to avoid the military like the plague. Yeah, my cousin's husband is a veteran. I imagine he would say the same thing. Ponythroat says, you mean people don't want to get their legs blown off begging in the streets so the CEO of Raytheon can buy another yacht? Yeah, who would have thought? And I will admit that I am slightly hypocritical in that I have stock in Raytheon, but, the military-industrial complex isn't going anywhere, at least in the time being, so might as well make a little money off it. But yes, if I have any young men listening, don't join the military. I mean, I'm 31, so I'm still within the age where I could get drafted. I think it ends at 35. But yeah, I have no idea why any young all-American boy would even consider joining the military. And doesn't the cathedral tell you people this directly? This isn't your country anymore, white devil. They hate you. They view you as disposable cannon fodder at best and the evil villain who must be liquidated to preserve our democracy at worst. They despise you. They're going to send you to some faraway land to kill some random brown people that didn't bother us, while ignoring the brown people that did actually attack us. And at best, you will come back traumatized and psychologically broken from the evils you've committed for the military-industrial complex. At worst, you'll have that and some crippling injuries too. And like any empire, we treat our veterans like absolute dog shit. Even back in like the Roman days, they treated veterans like crap. I mean, that was actually the cause of a lot of upheaval in the last days of the Republic. Pompey the Great wanted to get his veterans like better treatment, with the triumvirate and what have you. I've said this before too, but American men in general and the demographic that overwhelmingly signs up for combat arms, which is to say rural white shit kickers in particular, they're not represented by the military. For God's sake, West Point cadets are openly proclaiming themselves to be communists and chanting death to America. Let me repeat that. The United States' predominant military academy is openly declaring its hatred of America. If the military isn't a bastion of gung-ho machismo and patriotic bullheadedness, I don't know where you can find that. Hey, rural shit kicker, join the military and defend your country. All Cletus has to do is look back and see the defamations and degradations of his history and heritage in his very bloodline. See the cathedral openly spitting on everything he loves. See the burly and haggard transsexuals that'll be issuing him commands, who again hate him in every fiber of his being. See the Wall Street bloodsuckers profiting off his painful maiming or death. And see the bitchy, drug-addled fat women who'll be waiting for him back home. And, he's going to ask himself, what the hell am I defending, really? Is that irrational? And they really wonder why nobody wants to join the military. I mean, the people are fat, sickly, emotionally weak. Well, it's most people. And the ones who, aren't that, they're the enemy in our, culture and government. They're taught to hate ourselves. We're taught to hate ourselves and our country while our elites openly tell us they're waiting for us to all die and be displaced. Yeah, it's a complete mystery why nobody wants to join the military. Oh, and by the way, with regards to the Great Replacement theory, you can't celebrate it happening for the past 30 years and then act like it's not happening. It's a tad hypocritical to do so. So I say, since the core of the American military, which is to say, eye gouging, Scotch Anglo borderers, they're not so enthused for military anymore. I say, let's let the new, better America defend their country. Let the sinecure hacks sitting on their asses getting pregnant so they don't have to deploy and collect a pension fight. Let the transgenders and soy eaters and the illegal immigrants do the fighting. Once again, fuck the military. Okay, got some comments here. Ponythroat says, is anybody else in favor of abolishing 90% for the military and passing the savings on to nuclear weapons? More nukes means more peace. I think we have more than enough nukes. Actually, Steampunk Messiah says, recruiters are absolute snakes who lie their asses off to meet their quota. Oh, I know it. That's why I have in the meme reel. I have like the recruiter meme that comes up sometimes. But yeah, tying into the whole military thing is Max Boot, the Saudi bootlicker from, again, I believe the Washington Post, making an excuse for Biden for softballing Mohammed bin Salman. The same thing that he excoriated Donald Trump for doing. Cut Biden some slack. President's got to deal with dictators, he says in his headline. Give me 1 second. I'm going to go to the bathroom. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, I would ask what sort of name is Max Boot, just jumping right back into it. Yeah, what kind of name is Max Boot? But it does fit. He is licking Max Boots. He is licking the maximum amount of boots one man could possibly wrap his tongue around. Max Boot is, like many people in the media, a neocon hack who presumably hates Trump for, not starting any new wars in office. Look, like, Trump's a douche. I get it. Like, he's always been a douche. But the fact that he didn't pick some rando country to burn down, that puts him higher than most politicians in my eyes. And it's really sad that those are my standards nowadays. Ponythroat says you can never have enough nukes. Don't have enough storage for them. Sell them to other countries at 75% off. Nukes are on sale and peace is our destination. There'll be some stops along the way. Well, I suppose you can make a desert and call it peace, as Tacitus put it. And yeah, speaking of, the military, guess what county has a boiling water advisory right now? Several in New Jersey, actually, including the one I live in. So, that's great. The water system's failing. That's fantastic. We got to keep funding the military, though. Relating to this analysis is the analysis, I should say, that we literally don't fight wars to win them anymore. It's all a money laundering scheme, so says Julian Assange. The goal is to keep the war going for its own sake. Keep the war in a, slow-burning peat fire state so that we can continue paying big defense contractors and make the MIC rich and justify crap like the F-35 and what have you. Schmedley Butler said that war is a racket. I don't think he could have expected this much of a racket. Like, I was talking about how America did not have a large standing army in the past. I'm not going to deny we did some imperialism, with your banana republics and what have you. But at least, the common American person got something out of that. Got fruit. Fruit's good. Fruit is as legitimate a reason to imperialize as anything else. What does the average American person get out of the stupid military interventions we've been doing since then? We didn't get any oil out of the Mideast. We didn't get the rare earth metals in Afghanistan. We, the people, didn't get a damn thing for any of this crap. The war itself is a racket. Keeping the war going for its own sake is the racket, and to me, that's much more repugnant than just smacking a country around to get the bananas. Because if you look at those little banana wars, I mean, I prefer if we didn't do them at all, of course, but as far as imperialism goes, they were pretty small. I mean, certainly much less harm was done than comparable shit going on at the time. Because again, we actually had some kind of goal there. Go in, smack them around, get them bananas. And, it benefits people somewhat. But this stuff going on now, it benefits nobody but the defense companies. Defense. And it kills a lot more people than the banana stuff. And again, there's that Defense Department crap. You all know I hate pussy language. I'm just going to say, when America had the Department of War, we never lost a war. And now we lose them all the time with the Defense Department. There's something to be said for honesty. Okay, C. Punk Messiah says, people compare Trump to Hitler, but upon further inspection, he's more like a shitty Mussolini. Yeah, a little bit. Ponythroat says, does anybody else feel like if they had access to nukes, they would hover their hoof over the red button while listening to a tape recording of people whispering, do it, you coward? Gotta hit that big, red, jolly, candy-like button. As Ren and Snoopy would put it. Also, yeah, it's speaking of Ren and Snoopy, yeah, it's a hell of a thing John Kay went through, but that's neither here nor there. Rick asks, are the cartel-owned farms treating their workers any better? I don't know. I mean, I would doubt it. Anyway, yeah, I've been rambling on about the military a lot in this live stream, which is impressive since I've never served in the military, and I freely admit that. Let's get off this topic and go to a much more pleasant topic. The homosex. Monkeypox. 336 cases in New York City. All of them are either men or non-binary, whatevers. Hellraiser people. And once again, just like the AIDS epidemic, this is a case of the gays dragging their feet and impeding the CDC's work as much as possible because, no, you can't stop us from having our group sex parties. Yep, just like AIDS, I said it. The gays do tend to have quite a lot of sex, your circuit parties and what have you. And that is absolutely their right. They can have as much sex as they want with whoever they choose. That's fine, whatever. And let's also point out that gay-friendly municipalities encourage these big sex hootenannies because, well, it brings a lot of tourist money to the city. And again, that's cool, whatever. This is also hardly an American phenomenon because guess what? The monkeypox outbreak tracks the two big gay shindigs in Spain and Belgium. But my point is, first of all, if cities are encouraging you to come and party down and then furiously bum everything in sight, you're not all that oppressed, not impressed, oppressed. You're not all that oppressed. Secondly, the CDC is again dancing around the subject that this is largely spread by the gay community. The gay community. Just like they did with AIDS back in the 80s. The CDC says, try having sex with your clothes on. Be a frotteur. I mean, they're basically trying to say, cool it with the orgies until we get this under control. But, they can't just come out and say that because that would be stigmatizing. Again, just like AIDS. Silence is death? No. Destigmatization and openly having group sex sessions was death. Christ, Patrick Bateman's fiance was closer to the mark when she said silkience is death. For God's sakes, Evelyn, it says science is death. Also, yeah, I'm referencing American Psycho because I got that Sigma grind set. To Paul Allen's podcast. Anyway, once again, I'd like to point out that I have nothing against the gays. I don't even have anything against group sex parties where you're all bumming each other. If you want to do that, that's cool. But use a damn condom. Like, why is it so hard for you people to use condoms? They give them out for free at Planned Parenthood and the CDC. You can't take 5 seconds to put a condom on? But raw dogging is good, bro. Yeah, you know what doesn't feel good? Monkeypox. Yeah, speaking of the homosex, there was the Seoul Gay Pride Parade this week in Seoul, South Korea. And curiously, the pictures I saw don't have a single Korean person on the stage. There was some kind of, demonstration. There was not a single Korean person on the stage in Seoul, South Korea. Like, seriously, it's literally all just a bunch of weesh looking white people on stage. There was so little enthusiasm for gay pride parades amongst actual Korean people that they had to import a bunch of potato shaped honkies to force this down Chosen's throat. Yep, that's the vanguard of the American empire right there. Gay pride parades. Jesus, Larsen, you went from American Psycho, now you're referencing Stagecoach? Yeah, I am. So just FYI, whenever I use the phrase, the vanguard of the American empire or anything like that, I'm literally imagining like the cavalry rescue scene from the movie Stagecoach, except the horses are being ridden by hairy transsexuals and fat women in problem glasses and gay dudes in leather chaps, and they're all swinging giant dildos. So many times I've come up with these brilliant ideas, and I lack the artistic ability to make my visions come to life. But anyway, Ponythroat says, AIDS, it kills all the right people. M Detector 5 says they're trying to make monkeypox the next big pandemic, and they're failing. I mean, it's not for lack of trying on the gays' parts to make it a pandemic, because, God forbid you tell the gays to cool it a little bit, or even just take a couple seconds to put on a rubber. I mean, it might become a pandemic. Viruses have these curious little tendencies to mutate. But yeah, the Seoul Gay Pride Parade, that's 100% an American cultural import. And gee, I wonder why old Asian people accuse America of wanting to sissify and emasculate Asian men. Yeah, it's a mystery why anybody would have that idea. But being gay is fine and wonderful and good, Susan. I'm honestly stunned that the global American empire, GAE, the gay, couldn't find any actual, Korean people to be involved in this Korean gay pride parade. Like, I'm sure there's gays in Seoul. Ignore the fact that South Korea actually is really into, like, evangelical Christianity. But, I'm sure that's not a coincidence at all. Okay, C Punk Messiah says, I am bisexual, but never felt the need to attend the pride parade or don the flag. Homosexuality is merely a state of being, does not make one special. I mean, I suppose so. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, again, like, I don't have anything against the gays or the bi people or anything like that, or any of those alphabet people. But I feel like it is basically accepted nowadays, and it's kind of redundant to have like a parade. Eh, Ponythroat says there's another group that spreads STDs great abundance. Monkeypox is thus a very appropriate name. Yes, yes. I was seeing some speculation on the Twitters that monkeypox is very common in the children in Africa, which leads to some very bad implications when you consider it coming to Europe and then America. But yes, now in an entirely unrelated story to all this talk of homosex, totally unrelated to the gays, Prince Harry's friends from Eton, who were all extremely heterosexual, as all English public school students are, and they totally weren't fagging each other. And yes, that is the proper term, Susan. Yes, his Eton chums, who have like, triple barreled names, presumably, say that Prince Harry is, and I quote, fucking nuts for marrying Megan Markle. Yeah, a little bit. Then again, the irresistible desire that English royals have for middle aged American divorcees has a long and storied history. And to her credit, Meghan Markle comes from a much more illustrious line than Wallace Simpson. And by that I mean her father, Thomas Markle, wrote scripts for Married with Children, which is a greater accomplishment than any English royal has ever done in their life. Yeah, kidding. Mostly. But, yeah, she kind of comes off as a bit of a bitch. I mean, I can't be the only one who saw that footage of her literally shoving her husband out of the way at some photo shoot. Then there's that whole gun thing. She's like, Harry, you gotta get rid of your guns. You gotta sell your guns. I don't like the guns. Me. And he went and he did it. Yeah, red flag, guys. When the woman in your life forces you to give up your hobbies or your friends or whatever, yeah, ditch her. That's not good. The prince has been thoroughly emasculated, it looks to me. And yeah, I'm sure there was some mutual hostility going on in the family, from what we all hear. But yeah, she never seemed like a paragon of feminine virtue to me. But, whatever. I'm not a gossip monger. Okay, M Detector says that Thomas Markle was not a writer for Married with Children, but he was on the staff. Ah, my apologies. Either way, it's the accomplishment is there. But yeah, on the topic of guns, we got some good news from Indiana. Indiana, yes, good news came from there for once. An attempted mass shooter in a mall was killed by a civilian, a pudgy 22-year-old civilian. Now, I don't mean to judge. I mean, he's storing power in his fat folds. Now to be okay, I'm sorry, I shouldn't make fun of him. Now to be fair, the mass shooter did get 2 to 3 people, I believe 3 actually, but a much greater slaughter could have come clearly had this guy not plugged him. I hate to keep going back to the Uvalde cops, but seems to me that some random college kid can do a better job of stopping a spree shooter than 400 fat-bodied police officers wearing their little operator uniforms. And I do specify fat body because I've seen police academy photos of the Uvalde PD, and yeah, there's a lot of tubs in that police department. Why are police officers fat? No, I'm seriously asking here. Shouldn't police officers be at least kind of fit? Maybe if they weren't fat bodies, they'd be less likely to pull out their guns and shoot people. They'd be more willing to scrap hand to hand. Just saying. I guess this ties back to that whole military recruitment thing. Evidently, we can't get cops to pass a fitness test either, but unlike the military, we need cops anyway, so, just suit up, Tubby. I mean, I know for a fact that cops used to have fitness requirements. I don't know if they still do, but they used to. Teddy Roosevelt implemented them in the New York Police Department when he was the commissioner. But of course, Teddy Roosevelt was an evil white man, which is why they removed his statue from the Natural History Museum. You see, this is what happens when you cut down our heroes and our heritage. It leads to cultural mediocrity and general crappiness. Okay, Ponythroat says Megan Markle played a second stringer in Fringe, an underrated show. He got exiled to the colonies by a 95-year-old for being too much of a cow. I've literally never seen any of her acting work, so I couldn't judge. C Punk Messiah says, I think the police need to be held to a very high standard. Yeah, they do. And, I used to ask when I was a little kid, like, why do people like firefighters but hate police? It seems to me that firefighters are, much more respectable in terms of, I mean, I don't really see like fat firefighters, but I see a lot of fat cops. Ponythroat says the CIA must be angry when armed civilians, wow, you butchered that spelling, stop mass shooters. Months of grooming and arming them wasted because some fatty in the mall happened to have a 9. Yeah, it's true. And yeah, speaking of Teddy Roosevelt, it still does anger me a lot that pudgy dipshit from Chapo Trap House. Yeah, as if the term pudgy dipshit narrows anything down with Chapo. Yeah, anyway, he was like on Twitter, he was like, yeah, Teddy Roosevelt wasn't tough. He was just fat. That's all you had to do to be tough in those days. A yuck yuck. Yeah, dude, you're a real badass with your patchy beard and your soy belly and your cargo shorts and your noodle arms and legs. But yeah, it's glad to see somebody like that dude in Indiana has a pair of balls left in this country. And that wasn't even the only bit of heroism to come from Indiana. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was in Indiana once when I was, young, like 11, 12 or so. And I'm gonna be honest with you. It's a state I don't have much respect for, but it might be increasing in my respect, in my esteem, if you could produce guys like this. In addition to the shooting guy, a pizza delivery boy saves 5 people from a burning building. That was Nicholas Bostic was the burning building guy, and I should know the shooter's name, but I don't. Once again, a random couple of 20-somethings, one with a cheapo high-point pistol and a pizza delivery boy. They have bigger balls than 400 SWAT team members. What is going on in this country? I don't want to suggest that we should summarily execute every one of the Uvalde cops for gross cowardice in the line of duty, but maybe we should execute them. Since the SWAT cops, they want to so desperately LARP as being, soldiers and operators. Let's adjudicate them like soldiers. And when a soldier shows gross cowardice in the line of duty, well, what is a CO to do? If I recall correctly, there's only been one American soldier that was executed for cowardice in the field. uh, say what you will about Joseph Stalin, but that whole order, 227, not one step back, that I'm kind of starting to see the appeal. Okay, M Detective 5 says he's proud of your home state. Well, yeah, you're an Indiana person. All right, well, you know, like I said, I was there when I was a kid, and I just remember a lot of like flat fields of nothingness, you know, and also the state fair, which I wasn't super impressed by. But maybe I should go back. I mean, it seems to produce some good people. So yeah, Indiana, your esteem is raised a bit in my eyes. Going back to politics, Elon Omar and Alexandria Ocasio Cortez pretended to get arrested at a Whammon protest. They put their hands behind their backs to look like they were getting handcuffed, and then they waved to the crowds, raising the power fist. They both did this on camera. Hmm. You know, maybe the Somalian community wasn't wrong when they said Elon Omar is a disgrace. And I suppose it isn't the worst acting job AOC ever did. I mean, she is literally a mediocre actress they casted to be a senator, senatrix. I mean, do we call female senators senatrixes? We should. Yeah, there's something I find really distasteful about this performative, oppression theater. Like, ladies, you're doing something completely legal. You're not being arrested, but you're acting like you're being arrested. I mean, you want to be upset about the abortion thing. I mean, that's fine. But are we okay with lying now? And of course, there's that other stupid thing that happened to AOC. Some guy mildly sexually harassed her, talking about her ass, and it was like a big hullabaloo. You're a celebrity, sweetheart. There's going to be assholes. Obviously, I don't approve of such things, but you ought to relax, AOC. I mean, her ass isn't even that big. Again, I feel like this is like a woman thing. It's like, oh my God, he's talking about my glorious buttocks. Like, which of course will mean everybody has to be talking about her ass now. So, in a way, I feel like deep down she's kind of thankful for it. Okay, Ponythroat says you saved 5 customers from a burning building. Cool. Hand me your night's tips and fuck off, Wagey. Yeah, that probably would happen. I mean, I used to be a pizza delivery guy myself. Genghis Tom says, try Ohio. It's like Indiana, but slightly better. There's an old meme I remember about Ohio. It's like, welcome to Ohio. Ha ha, now you're stuck in Ohio. Ponythroat says, the juicy sommelier of politics is Elon Omar and AOC. Yes, yes, they are. Oppression theatrics is what the Germans did post World War One. Yeah, that Black Terror of the Rhine was kind of a bit of a nothing burger. I mean, looking at the state of the Democrats and the Republicans for that matter, I can't help but notice that both parties are commanded by just these female dingbats. Whether you got like, Omar and AOC and Kamala on the left, or you got Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene on the right. It's like they're racing to the bottom to lose the respect of any intelligent person. Correct me if I'm wrong, but does Lauren Boebert's mother still claim that Stan Lane, the professional wrestler, is the father of her child? That was a bit of a thing that went on like a few years ago. I'm curious if she's still claiming that. Old sweet Stan Lane, the Midnight Express. Wait, no, the fabulous one. Shit, I'm an idiot. I mean, Stan, old Stan boy, he was known for having his way with the broads, so it's possible, and that would amuse me very much. But I don't know if she's still claiming that. But yeah, I mean, both parties could completely obliterate the other if they just showed common sense. Like, if the Republicans, did commonsensical things, they'd BTFO the Democrats and vice versa, to be honest. I mean, if liberals focus on like wages and unions and things, things they claim to care about, they don't, but they claim to. I mean, if they did that, they'd BTFO the Republicans. They got to do all that trans shit and these stupid fake oppression interpretive dances, which makes any sensible person go, what the hell is that? And conversely, if the conservatives just focused on, maintaining law and order and balancing a budget and small government, again, the things they claim to support, and the whole idea of calling it like you see it, they'd BTFO the liberals. But no, they got to do their stupid military industrial crap and impotent gun fetishism. Makes me sad to see people who could have an easy victory fumbling it. Seems like I say that a lot, actually. And speaking of liberal insanity, we got some humdingers today. Okay, we got some comments here talking about the state of Ohio. Genghis Tom says, why do you think we have so many astronauts? Because they're trying to get as far from Ohio as you can. And Rick says the same thing. Ohio had the first to fly, the Wright brothers, first to orbit the Earth from space, first on the moon. People will do anything to get out of Ohio. Yeah, I'm starting to notice that. Seed Punk Messiah says there's a lot of short-sightedness in American politics. Yeah, never underestimate American politicians' abilities to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. But yeah, speaking of, insanity, apparently nuclear power is sexist, ageist, and racist. Not one form of oppression, but all three. I mean, I don't really understand the logic here. It's like, oh, the ions, they do more damage to frail female bodies. Well, I mean, that might be true. I mean, again, nobody should be exposed to radiation in general, but it is the most efficient form of electricity generation we have for now. Or we could solve the climate by culling 9% of the population. World Economic Forum. Again, I'm not an expert on this. I mean, I did, like I said, cram enough to pass like an exam, which like, like a college graduate level degree to know about, general science. But yeah, I don't see why we don't do a combination of nuclear power and then like sort of individual units of solar and wind power on top of buildings as a supplementary thing. I think that would be pretty good myself. But no, we gotta faff around. We gotta destroy the environment with these massive like rolling hills of solar panels and wind farms. Because God forbid nuclear power. And it's not like they're saying like, oh, like the uranium mines, they affect minorities, which is true. They're saying that like the source of power itself is racist. I don't suppose like just paying miners a fair wage would be an option. Guess not. Seed Punk Messiah says the key to success is to get liberals and conservatives to work together for the betterment of America. I agree. That would require actually listening and understanding each other. Yeah, I mean, I hate to sound like some, boomers. Like, oh, what happened to the days of bipartisanism? But yeah, I mean, we kind of do need some bipartisanism. Ponythroat says that nuclear power is sexist because its uranium is too heavy for the broads to lift. It's ageist because people don't live as long. And it's racist because it actually works. Yeah, I mean, it's a new kind of game I've been seeing on Twitter. It's like just go into Google and type in like is X racist, like is smiling racist, is nuclear power racist, is fitness racist, is water racist, and every single one will get like some idiotic result about how such a thing is in fact racist. And not to be outdone, the New York Times says, and I quote, hotness is no longer just in the eye of the beholder. It's a mood. It's a vibe. No, it is not. The article goes on to describe some woman who twirled around spaghetti on video and like she got marriage proposals from it or something. Of course, women always like to imagine that they can rearrange society, conveniently in a way that would make them be considered the most beautiful. I'm sure that's a complete coincidence. But I'm not denying that this woman got proposals. I mean, I'm sure she did. I'm not accusing her of being a liar. I don't think this indicates that the definition of beauty has changed. It indicates how pathetic, sex starved, and simpy American men are nowadays. That some lumpy woman twirling about Pashageti got marriage proposals. So, yeah, that's as close as we'll ever get to rearranging my beauty standards. make men so pathetic and sex-starved that they'll put a ring on a fat woman's greasy sausage finger. I mean, I suppose it does work in a cynical, manipulative way, but of course, women don't want simpy, ugly men. They want the square-jawed chads to have sex with their dumpy asses. They want the square-jawed chads, while they don't have to lift a finger in doing any effort to make themselves look good. And God help me, I'm sure that a lot of these tubs have gotten some Chad dick, at least as a throwaway can of cock. And they've been longing for and demanding it ever since then. Once again, this all ties back to one of my fundamental theses that I've voiced many times. Stop simping. Stop giving mediocre women dick and or attention. It is destroying this country and destroying our society. Stop it. C Punk Messiah says, I hear that thorium is better for nuclear power than uranium. I'm not an expert, but I do support nuclear power. I mean, when it's done properly and safely, it is probably the cleanest and most efficient form of of electrical energy there is. So yeah, I'm a big nuclear power fan. Changing subjects now, in homeless derelict news, NASCAR driver Bobby East was murdered by a homeless man. He was stabbed to death at a gas station in California. I've heard some conflicting reports that he was, in fact, maybe buying drugs from him or something, but either way, it's not great. There's a part of me that wants to be sympathetic to the homeless, but there's another part of me that realizes that a lot of them are raving derelicts who are completely insane and they attack people in the streets. Thank you, Reagan, for releasing all these raving derelicts onto the streets. And again, what in the actual hell is going on in California? God made the state of California, Elysium, the eternal spring, and you filled it full of raving derelicts? I guess this illustrates the whole grasshopper and ant thing, but it astounds me how you took a paradise and just destroyed it in less than a century. And speaking of raving derelict murder, Black Lives Matter defends a guy who tried to kill a woman in Minnesota, an Ethiop, and I use that term literally. He was apparently of Ethiopian ethnicity, who was adopted by a nice white Scandinavian couple. This black guy who has honestly a name that's his first name is Ethiopian, his last name is super Norwegian, which is honestly kind of funny to me. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, he popped off and shot at a woman and her baby. The police then came and shot him, and apparently we're supposed to demand justice for this garbage human being. Well, I think justice was meted out to him already at bullet point, but apparently BLM doesn't think so. And I'm pretty sure the woman he was shooting at was also black. I mean, she looks like a light-skinned black girl to me. She certainly doesn't look white. So apparently, the black life of this woman and her child, they don't matter. But the black life of a criminal gunman does matter. It's almost as if they could not care less about the lives of black people and more about, I'm messing that up. It's almost as if they do care less about the lives of black people, but they care more about creative destruction and promoting a narco-tyranny by boosting criminal lowlives. Or alternatively, the flagrantly inaccurate propaganda might be the point. As was once said about Soviet propaganda, the point is not to convince. Nobody was convinced by it. The point was to demoralize by forcing you to agree with the most blatant falsehoods. It beats you down psychologically, having that cognitive dissonance in you. That was the purpose of communist propaganda. That's kind of what these pro-crime shenanigans are doing, in my opinion. Let's see. Pony Throat says you put a jelly donut from the Krispy Kreme club on that sausage finger and waddle her down the aisle of Walmart. Yeah, that's what they want. Men get arrested, dogs get put down. Yes, they do. Meanwhile, GoFundMe took down that bodega stabbing guy's funding page, but this guy's page stays up. The justice for Minnesota man. At least the bodega guy got his murder charge dropped, so some good news came out of the local crime blotters. More on political inanity. Lawns are racist. greenery is racist, as declared by a bunch of people who hate nature and they want to fill this nation with pestilential slums. In case you people didn't know, Matt Iglesias with a Y is some liberal douche who's literally never been outside Greenwich Village until recently when he went to Italy, who wants to fill America with 1 billion Americans, the title of his recent book. That's the only way we can compete with China in the future, to open up our doors to 700 more dregs of the earth. But this is a bit of a cop. The main reason he says this is because he, like every urban bugman, just has an inherent visceral hatred of nature, wide spaces, and greenery. No, he literally says so. I am not personally a nature lover, he says. He also says that tall buildings are better than trees because they provide shade and cool people down, ignoring how concrete blocks and streets actually, absorb heat and make everybody hotter. Transpiration, what's that? Matty Iglesias literally wants America to be a nation of densely packed slums, and he's not alone in this. Quite a lot of people seem to want this, actually, in the upper classes. I can understand why, some upper class Brahmin Indian immigrant wants America to be full of slums, so they can live like they do back home, being the upper class landlord making bank off the jabbering lumpen proles. I mean, I at least understand that in a cynical sort of way. But I don't understand why somebody born in this country, in this culture, wants to live in Mega City 1. I mean, I would ask what kind of idiot reads Judge Dredd comics and says, yeah, that's the way I want to live. But let's be honest, knowing Matt Iglesias, he's probably too soft to read Judge Dredd comics, so that's kind of a moot point. Okay, C Punk Messiah says, when you say fat women, are you talking about all of them or just the trashy loudmouths who have thrown away their dignity? I mean, mainly the latter. But, I mean, to an extent, yeah, fat women in general. And again, I want to specify, I'm not saying everyone has to be like super skinny supermodels, because obviously not everyone can be like that. And yes, I've known some women who are a little bit thicker, and they look good. Like my quick and dirty rule with women is I got to be able to pick you up off the ground. If I can't do that, we're not like going to be a long term thing. Now it gives me a good amount of leeway. Like, yeah, I've been with some women who are a little heavier, 150, 160, which a little bit thicker is okay. But when I say fat, I mean you know, waist and stomach bigger than the butt, hips and breasts. Just like lumpy. They have the body of like Grimace from the McDonald's commercials. That's what I mean by fat. But again, it's obviously attitude is a big problem as well. There's a saying that they used to say on the 4chan fitness board back when I used to read that. It was like, they would say this person is fat inside and outside. So it's like your personality is fat and your body is fat. Anyway, the whole Matt Iglesias thing ties directly into what the White House is doing. They're pushing to end single-family residency, front lawns, zoning laws preventing Section 8 housing vouchers. Those are all racist, so they have to go, clearly. Well, amazing how everything that the good people believe in will lead to people having less opportunities, the destruction of a coherent culture, and oligarchy throughout the land. And you people wonder why I want to get that farmland. And there is also something I have to ask here. When white people move into a ghetto area, that's gentrification, that's bad. When they leave those areas, that's white flight, and that's bad. So what exactly is like the proper thing to do? Are white people supposed to just exist in like limbo? Or are they just supposed to shoot themselves? It's probably the shooting themselves. Ponythroat says, what does Larsen think of my Conan poem from earlier? It is that is what's best in life, certainly. And now we come to some cultural news. Marvel Studios hacks tell us why auteur filmmaking is bad. The Russo brothers say auteur filmmaking is 50 years old at this point. They invented it in the 70s. Things have to change. You can't reject the next generation's ideas. First of all, I wasn't aware that auteur filmmaking was invented in the 70s. I mean, that would be news to I don't know, Jean-Luc Godard, Akira Kurosawa, John Ford, Orson Welles, D.W. Goddamn Griffith. Yeah, you're off by about 70 years there, Russo brothers, from the 70s. I mean, hell, you could even argue that George Méliès in the 1890s was like an auteur filmmaker. Also, yeah, I said D.W. Griffith. I'm praising D.W. Griffith. Yeah, but he was racist. Me. Yeah, he was racist. But he was also literally the most influential filmmaker in the history of filmmaking. And to ignore his legacy is to be willfully ignorant about filmmaking as an art form. Secondly, I think they're kind of polishing the turd here. Look, the superhero movies are good for what they are, even though I think they really ought to have ended with the aptly titled End Game. But guys, there's a formula you're using. They're just basic, formulaic blockbusters. You're not auteurs. You're going to overexpose yourself, guys. The superhero thing is going to burn out. No genre lasts forever in popularity. And I say that as somebody who grew up reading superheroes. When even a nerd like me burns out on it, that should tell you a lot. But yeah, I mean, yeah, auteur filmmaking only came out in the 70s. Idiots. Yeah, so I just click on Twitter right now and I see a duck, finishing a marathon, which is pretty damn impressive. Good for him. The Long Island Marathon. Not won by a duck, but he was a strong contender. Oh, he's even got little shoes. That's adorable. Yes, also in culture news, and finally getting to the title of this stream, there's apparently meat flavored hard seltzers on the market now. And honestly, I'm trying not to throw up in my mouth a little bit. And now you know why I titled this stream what it's titled. Oscar Mayer is apparently making meat flavored hard seltzers. Who was asking for this? I don't think anybody was asking for this, but here we are. Meat flavored seltzer. Let me see what flavors we got in the meat flavored seltzers. Just gotta check this out. I mean, I gotta assume it's gotta be bologna because Oscar Mayer. Like I said, we got ham and cheese meat seltzer, original bologna meat seltzer, and olive loaf meat seltzer. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna violently vomit after this after this stream. I mean, olive loaf is disgusting enough. You don't have to put it into seltzer form. Ponythroat says Birth of a Nation needs a modern reboot with more inclusive casting. Didn't they try that? And it sucked. Ponythroat asking about the seltzers is it just carbonated gravy? Let's see, it's the can says hard seltzer made with ham, add ingredients, and smoky flavors. Bologna, hard seltzer made with chicken, pork, and beef. Olive loaf seltzer, hard seltzer made with chicken, pork, pimentos, and olives. God has abandoned us. End Detector says, I know bacon is awesome. That's a bit much. Genghis Tom says, if you're a carnivore and an alcoholic, that's the only logical place to go. Yeah, in the Elder Scrolls video games, part of the lore is that the Wood Elves, they have this thing called the Green Pact, where like they don't eat any vegetables. Like they live in harmony with the forest and stuff, so they don't eat any vegetables, and that includes like their what do you call it? Their alcohol. It's like literally like rotten meat that they drink. They make like alcohol out of that. So I guess Oscar Mayer's wanting that Elder Scrolls tie-in, I suppose. Ponythroat says cooked ground beef after it was cooled down, meat seltzers. Unrealistically picked sliced reconstituted ham seltzer. C Punk Messiah says on the subject of meat seltzer sounds like the gross BS that pickle enthusiasts come up with. What, you mean like Kool-Aid pickles? Yeah, there's a lot of weird food experimenting stuff. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. C Punk Messiah says he wants a new martial arts movie boom. We need movies like Jet Li and Sonny Chiba. Again, Once Upon a Time in China, the Street Fighters, those are all very good movies. Yeah, I mean, I am kind of hoping that there will be another martial arts movie boom. It helps. I grew up in the '90s when that was like at its peak, which again, was nice because that way, if there was more martial arts movies, Asians wouldn't be whining about more representation. Okay, Genghis Tom asks, can they make skooma out of it? They do not make skooma out of the rotten meat, sir. Skooma is made from moon sugar, if I recall correctly. And that's more of a Khajiit thing. Yeah, so I'm doing a little research on that. The Wood Elves, the Bosmer, they make two alcoholic drinks. They got Jaga, which is fermented piggy milk, which is similar to drinks like Irog, which is you know, a dairy beverage of Mongolia that's fermented milk. Yes, and then there's fermented meat, rotten meat alcohol. Yeah, skooma. That's for the Khajiits, sir. Yeah, filthy backstabbing Khajiits. Whoops. I mean, what? Yeah, I don't know who was asking for meat seltzer. Yeah, I know. Maybe this country wouldn't be as fat as it is if we weren't constantly eating garbage like this. And yeah, I said eating seltzer because when it's meat flavored, it's you're eating it at that point. And speaking of stupid food, there's $10 Eat the Rich popsicles. An ice cream truck in where else? Williamsburg, Brooklyn, is gadding about making popsicles that look like corporate CEOs and charging $10 a pop for these popsicles. Eat the rich. Nothing says anti capitalism like making serious bank on the backs of hipsters. And look, I'm very much, anti corporate myself. This sort of thing is just performance art. And I say that because most of the people who buy these popsicles probably have degrees in interpretive dance and other performance art. This is controlled, establishment approved rebellion. And while I do agree with the sentiment, there's something I find inherently off about railing against corporatism and oligarchy by buying consumer goods and junk food. It's seems kind of strange to me. And speaking of the hipsters, something else I noticed on the Twitters is tattoo advocacy. What the hell is tattoo advocacy and why is it a thing? Have people seen this crap? All this like, oh, we need to destigmatize tattoos. We got to advocate for people to respect tattoo wearers. I'm sorry, what the hell is this? I was born in '91, which is really one of the last decades where tattoos were not really accepted in American culture. So when I was a kid, I associated tattooing with like rough countercultural types, prisoners, gangbangers, soldiers, sailors, bikers, metalheads, and the like. But now it's like every dweeb gets a tattoo, and it's kind of diluting the effect when you have these little weenies whining about, yeah, nobody respects me because I have a tattoo. We got to advocate for tattoo wearers. Meh. Tattoo advocacy. Razor Fist put it better than I ever could. Tattoo advocacy used to be the fist of the Hell's Angel kicking your ass for making fun of his tattoos. Okay, Pony Throat says the Khajiit were making some barbed comments towards my wife. I got it. Genghis Tom says, despite Khajiit, yes, despite being only 13% of Tamriel, I see where you're going with that too. Ponythroat says, despite making up 13% of Tamriel's population, Red Guards are 55% of bandits. Sir, that is not true. The Red Guards are noble, proud warriors. The Khajiits are the criminals. The Khajiits are the ones who cause all the crime. The Khajiits are the ones who are, mugging people and like smashing up French fry restaurants. Those damn Khajiits. Ponythroat says the media is controlled by high elves. Yeah, it's that damn Somerset Isles. C Punk Messiah says, say what you want about the communists. At least old school communists had balls. Yes, there is. I used to have a meme on my meme reel, but YouTube didn't like it. It was comparing like a 50s communist to a modern communist. And yeah, the 50s communist is like, square jawed like He Man, and the modern communist is some lumpy little twink. Shinseki Evans says tattoos are a symbol of conformity these days. Yes, they are. C Punk Messiah says the only tattoo I want is the Star Fox symbol. It was my favorite series growing up. Fox Main for life. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. So yeah, with regards to the tattoos, yeah, thank you, Samuel O'Reilly, for making the tattoo gun so any weenie could get a quick and relatively painless tattoo. Yeah, throw in Thomas Edison too, because his invention of the stencil pen was directly the predecessor of the tattoo gun. Luckily, I have a quick and easy solution so we never have to hear the phrase tattoo advocacy ever again. We should bring back stipple tattooing so that candy asses can't get tattoos. Like, oh, you want to get a tattoo, Susie? That's cool. Have fun spending the next 8 hours having a needle slowly being hammered into your flesh drop by drop to get your tattoo done. You know, the way tattoos used to be done before the 1890s, and the aforementioned Samuel O'Reilly. You know, the way that Samoan tribesmen and the Japanese mafia still do tattooing as a manhood initiation. Bring that back so I never have to be burdened by the phrase tattoo advocacy ever again. More in, or should I say more on, cultural news. The Amazon Corporation fires a Tolkien scholar from the Rings of Power for saying that they were bastardizing the lore, which, they are. First of all, the idea of a Tolkien scholar is inherently kind of funny to me, considering that your average Tolkien scholar is basically just some smelly geek. But regardless, they brought the guy on to judge the accuracy of the lore. He gave them what they wanted, and then they fired him because he wasn't telling them that the Yas Queens were perfect in every way possible. Okay. Ponythroat says, in the lore, Red Guards keep genociding other races for being too similar to them. There'd only be one token black race. Yeah, that the whole Yakuta thing's a bit crazy. Yep. Genghis Tom says, I remember literally everybody and their mom getting tramp stamps. Now they get inspirational crap written on their rib cages. I don't have any tattoos, and I don't plan on getting them. C-Punk Messiah says, also in the same vein, modern Nazis are the definition of Untermenschen. They would never make it in the SS or the Wehrmacht. Yeah, you got that right. Ponythroat says, is it manly to get damage tattooed on your forehead? Well, it depends on what the damage is, I would say. But yeah, back to Amazon. They also had a team of advisors to placate Christopher Tolkien to reassure the old man that they weren't bastardizing his father's work. And then when he died, they fired all of them and proceeded to throw money at the other descendants of Tolkien, who were evidently less stringent about the professor's legacy. The plan from the beginning was to bastardize Tolkien's legendarium. The scheduled release date happens to be the date of Tolkien's death, which, I don't know if that was intentional or not, but that says all you need to know. I've said this before. I am a fan of Tolkien's legendarium. I'm not the biggest fan, but I do like his work. I will fight this by not watching it, and most likely it will be the biggest flop in television history. But as I said, if they try to crap up Robert Howard or H.P. Lovecraft, I will be more aggressive and confrontational about protesting it, which is to say, I'll make a bunch of video essays. That's my line in the sand. And yes, for the record, I'm aware of that god awful Lovecraft Country show on television. But that's not explicitly based on any of his works. They openly admit that it's just crappy fan fiction that was deliberately intended to slap the gentleman of Providence in the face from beyond the grave. If they take his actual works and crap them up, I will be angry. And ditto any of Robert Howard's mythos. Both of those writers have potential for, multiverses, shared universes, and the like. Hell, Robert Howard's mythos are explicitly a part of Lovecraft's mythos. And I am very afraid that they'll seize them and turn them into the same crap they do everything else. And now for an art form I know less than nothing about. The Northern School of Contemporary Dance in the UK drops ballet from its curriculum because it's like racist or something. It's racist and elitist, so saith the woke people. Yes, how terrible. Women who are lithe and graceful are preferable to look at and they dance better. Never mind the fact that ballet is the core of most modern dance styles. Also, wasn't aware that only white people could do ballet. You ever hear of Alvin Ailey? Speaking of silence equaling death. What? But, yeah. Pray tell, what will you replace ballet with? Spastic buttock flapping? I presume that's what it's going to be. Okay, Ponythroat asks, are the Elder Scrolls going to add Asians? I was about to say that's the men of Akavir. And then Genghis Khan answered that question already, so thank you for preemptively answering the question. Sipunk Messiah says ballet is the Kyokushin karate of dance. I suppose. And also, not only is ballet racist, but apparently sailing is racist. Sailing is white supremacist. According to another stupid article I saw. Yeah, I guess somebody better tell all those Polynesian people that sailing is racist. And don't forget the Arabs, too, and the Chinese, and all those other non white people that were great explorers and mariners. I'm starting to notice that a lot of these weak liberal types seem to divide the world into, dare I say, a black and white dichotomy. Literally, they only perceive the world as being white people and black people. The former are evil, irredeemable oppressors, and the latter are poor, benighted, innocent, noble savages. And let's be honest, I'm going to wager that a lot of black people have less than no interest in the nautical arts. But there's plenty of non white people who do. And for God's sakes, like by some measures, like the Polynesians literally sailed longer distances than like the Vikings or Columbus or anyone like that. Please get out of your woke victimhood studies classes and actually observe the world with your own eyes, people. Okay, Ponythroat says replace ballet with twerking fat woman named Bath Mat flapping their buttocks. Well, I mean, that goes without saying. Ponythroat says we are yet to see an actual Akaviri in any of the games. We've seen more Slodes than Akaviri. Well, in Skyrim, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they have like this some kind of Akaviri like in murals or reliefs on the wall when you go to those caves and you see like the prophecy of the Dragonborn, stuff like that. And there's also like Akaviri armor in Elder Scrolls Online, if that's canon. C Punk Messiah says ballet is brutal and requires a lot of athleticism. Yes, it does. And finally, Twitter silliness. Okay, so we got some communist fruits on Twitter saying that, what will you do after the revolution? I'm going to write books, play soccer, and draw in the evening. Well, he said play football. He was some Spanish person, I believe. Yeah, he's going to write books, draw, and play sports. That's adorable, really. That you think that you'll be doing that and you won't be forced to work on a collective potato farm or a coal mine. These people, like, not understand the history of their political movement. You do know that parasitism, i.e., being a lazy knob who doesn't contribute to the state, was a crime under the Soviet Union, right? Like, actual writers and intellectuals were arrested because they weren't contributing enough to the state, doing work. Commissar, there seems to be a misunderstanding. I'm supposed to be doing interpretive dance, sticking things up my ass, and dig the fucking coal, you parasite. I'm sorry, it does greatly amuse me seeing tankies just be so utterly deluded. Ponythroat still talking about the Elder Scrolls says we've yet to see an actual living Akavir. We have met more living Dwemer than Akaviri. Yes, I mean that is true. I mean, I suppose eventually in the Elder Scrolls games, like they'll kind of go through all like the provinces of Tamriel, and then maybe they can go to Akavir. I do actually find like the lore of the Elder Scrolls like some of the most fascinating like fantasy stuff out there. That's neither here nor there. And finally, I got to promote another posting L's account on Twitter, Pitbulls posting L's, which is exactly what it sounds like. I mean, you go down this list and it's just constant stories of pit bulls just shredding people for no reason, as they tend to do. Again, I'd like to point out that I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with pit bulls, but yeah, a lot of pit bulls are owned by feral, hood rats or feral white trash who want, they want to have a pit bull so they can compensate for the size of their tiny little penises. And I'm just gonna say it, even when they're in pain, pit bulls look like they're having fun. Like here's one from just yesterday. San Antonio pit bull stuck with hundreds of quills after unsuccessful attempt at making friends, making friends, wink wink, with porcupine. He still looks like he's smiling. He's got all these like barbs in his face. I mean, they're basically bred to be blood knights. Like, I relish the pain. Blood for the blood god, skulls for the throne of skulls. That's literally the attitude every pit bull has. And if you're going to own a pit bull, better train the hell out of it. Otherwise, you shouldn't. C-Punk Messiah talking about the tankies. They're so staunchly in love with being anti-fascist, they unquestionably embrace communism without considering the history. I mean, why not just call them communists? I mean, I know that was a very common tactic that they would couch outright communism with anti-fascism. That was like a big thing they did to get support in Hollywood back in the day. Okay, Pony Throat, still talking about the Elder Scrolls, says Hammerfell is the only Tamriel province they can use without being accused of being furries. Valenwood and Somerset would not work as games. Why wouldn't Valenwood and Somerset work? I mean, I know Valenwood is like the ambulatory trees and stuff. What's wrong with Somerset Isles? Sorry for coughing. I staggered home a bit late last night. I was going out celebrating with the broads to celebrate my exam victory, and when I get home late at night, my body violently rejects that. So that's why I'm coughing. M Detector says pit bulls are damn near indestructible. Yeah, they are. Like they're fighting dogs. They're bred to be fighting dogs. You have to take that into account when you own them. Yeah, like I'm reading a post just now. It says like pit bulls get stuck with more porcupine quills than other dogs because most dogs they take like one hit and they back off, but pit bulls like they relish the pain. Like they're trained to like enjoy the fight, so they just keep going at it. Oh look, then we got a video here of a pit bull like looking really longingly at a baby in the longing for in the food sense, which is wonderful. But like I said before, I would much rather extirpate the pug as a breed than a pit bull. Yeah, they're not very nice dogs. I mean, they are. It is what it is. Despite, I mean, they are despite dogs. Yes. Okay, Ponythroat says Somerset is tacky to high fantasy. Valenwood is literally just trees and not much else. Well, I mean, considering that like the Dark Elves, Morrowind, they literally created this unique sort of culture and look, with like the giant bug houses and things. I don't see why you couldn't do that with Somerset, to be honest. I mean, yeah, you could make it like hacky and tacky, but you could also do it really creatively if Todd Howard isn't a fucking hack, which he kind of is. Yeah, I think Elsewhere would be good. Yeah, Hammerfell. I mean, it probably will be Hammerfell just because you gotta get more representation in there. But yeah, that does it for my prepared remarks. And if anybody has anything to say it now. Hey, pit bulls are the black people, the dogs. Pugs are the Roman gypsies, the dogs. I mean, I don't know about that. I mean, pugs are just these like grotesque mutant babies that were literally bred so that drunken wine aunts could have like little fur babies. I mean, I'm doing it as a mercy killing. Any animal that has its eyeballs pop out of its head regularly is not something that should live, to be honest. I'm doing it as a favor. Genghis Tom says the Pillars of Eternity has great lore too. I don't know what that is. I'm going to look that up. Let's see, Pillars of Eternity. Oh, it's like Icewind Dale and Baldur's Gate. Yeah, the only video game pillars I know are the pillars from Legacy of Kain. Ponythroat says he would assume Hammerfell because it's the only one populated by a human race. But it might be cool to like uh do like a Elder Scrolls kind of around like say the orcs. Because I know like they always try to set up Orsinium, then it gets kind of smacked down. You could get of course a oppressed, displaced people metaphor in there. So they might do like a orc one. You can't set it in elsewhere black marsh that would attract degenerates. Again, if they were creative, they could do like a Argonian game or a Khajiit game. But yeah, I mean, there's a potential it could be like furry as hell, or scaly in the case of the Argonians. Ponythroat says Orsinium is the Wakanda or the Chaz of Tamriel. I mean, I would give him a chance at least. Ponythroat says the orcs are more like people than red guards, who are clearly more based on Berbers than blacks. And yes, Punk Messiah, I did watch Nudson's Down the Rabbit Hole on the furry fandom. I like Nudson. He's good. Fred Nudson. Okay, I'm gonna wind it down again. I do have to be somewhere at noon. Got to teach a saxophone lesson, so I'm gonna let you people say what you got to say. Ponythroat says Mama Cass said it best when she said, "Ugh, I have no idea what that means." Punk Messiah said it's also stupid for him being called a furry. Well, I mean, if you just like a cartoon or a video game that has like animals, like that's not necessarily being a furry. If the furries are like overtly sexualized, then it starts being furry. And yes, Crystal did ruin Star Fox. I said it. Okay, Pony Throat is talking about his little sexual fetish there. All right, so it seems like we're kind of winding down. So I'm gonna give you people one more minute, and then I'll be heading out. Wait, whoop. Okay, Seed Punk Messiah says it was Fox and Robin Hood who turned me furry because I thought they were cool characters. Well, again, like it's not. Well, I'm using. Unfortunately, furry has sort of become like weird sexual things. Again, if you just like the cartoon or the video game, whatever, that's not being a furry. I would say that's only if you're doing like weird sexual like yiff stuff and like having sex in your fursuit, then you're a furry. Otherwise, not so much. All right, I think I'm going to be heading out now. So, for Larsen Halleck, I'm Larsen Halleck. You people have a good day.